When I got fired from that gym, they said, you can never come back here ever again. You can't be a trainer here. You can't be a client here. You can never step foot in this building ever again. This woman had it out for me. She hated me. She was the manager. Okay, great, fine. I'll never come back here again. Right. So years had passed. I built JLG Fitness. I was very successful financially, and I had been able to become a member of Equinox, and I was working out at Equinox right down the street on 75th Street. I'm walking down the street and I notice that the sign on the Reebok wall is no longer Reebok. It is now Equinox. So I found out that Equinox had acquired Reebok, and I'm like, oh, that means that nobody that fired me works here anymore. All of a sudden, I got this hit from the universe. It was like a gigantic download. It was a huge moment. It was like, Jenny, you need to go back into that gym. There is someone there that you need to meet. You need to go in there and you need to connect with people. So I go in, I start working out there again. I bump into a trainer that I had dated when I worked there, Carlos. Hi, Carlos. Carlos was still training people there, and I have my own business at this point in time. I was so proud of myself. It's always good to bump into an ex when you're really proud of yourself. And he's like, so what are you up to? I'm like, oh, I built this business. I'm training people all over the West Side. I have employees that work for me. I've got this virtual thing going on. And he's like, wow, that's awesome. I was like, yeah, but I'm here because I want to connect with people. And he's like, oh, there's this guy that works out here. I think he does something similar to you. I don't really know him that well, but I think he's in that space. And I think he does something with connecting people. I go home that night and I'm looking him up and I'm doing this research on this guy, and he's known online as the super connector. And I'm like, oh, well, my word of the year is connection. Maybe I need to know this super connector guy. So I press follow. And before I know it, I have a DM from the super connector, Chris Winfield. We start chatting and we arrange to go for a walk in the park. That day we were supposed to go to the park. I really didn't want to go. I'm like an introverted person, so I always have to force myself to go to things. I love to be on stage. I love connection. I love what happens when you go and you make that relationship. That's what I live for. But the act of going and getting myself there is very hard for me. I had to be like, no, you have to get outside your comfort zone and do things to make things happen. It wasn't a date. It was like meeting this guy that could help me with my business. So I forced myself. I remember saying, just get to the bench. There was a bench on Central Park, like right at the corner of Strawberry Fields, where I was gonna meet him. And I knew the bench, so I was just focusing on the bench. Get to the bench. And I sit there, I'm looking around and he's late. And then all of a sudden this guy walks up to me. He's like 6 feet tall and he's got these aviator sunglasses on. And he pulls his sunglasses down and he looks at me and he goes, who's luckier than us?